Hey ladies and gentlemen, Steven here from Redolessence. Welcome back to another video. I'm really excited today because we have a brand new fragrance by the company House of Sillage. This is a surprise drop that is becoming available on June 11th, Friday, June 11th at midnight. This one is actually a flanker to Whispers of Truth. This one is called Whispers of Truth Noir. I'm excited to give you my thoughts on this brand new fragrance, so make sure to stay tuned. Now, before I begin my fragrance review of Whispers of Truth Noir by House of Sillage, I do want to mention that if you are a fan of fragrance-related content, if you like fragrance reviews here on YouTube just like this, but also top 10 videos, giveaways, unboxings, special guest interviews, and more, please do consider supporting this channel by subscribing to it. All you have to do is click on that red button in the corner. It would mean so much to me. And also while you're at it, make sure to take a second to leave a like down below for the YouTube algorithm. It would mean a lot. So we have Whispers of Truth, which actually came out in 2019. You have the rose, the citrus, the orange, the florals, the caramel. It's a little bit on the sweet side. It's a really youthful and sweet, flirtatious kind of a fragrance. And now we have Whispers of Truth Noir. So this is the darker version of that fragrance. And of course, if you remember the original, it came in the white bottle. This one has the black enamel on it. It has the black bottle that is hand polished in France. This fragrance is very strongly concentrated at 25% oil. The presentation is absolutely gorgeous. It has over 200 hand-placed Swarovski crystals in the cupcake cap, or the cupcake presentation of this bottle. And this is a gold-plated 18-karat yellow gold cap. Just everything about this presentation is absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to show it up close for you in just a second. Now, what makes this noir? What makes this darker? So they added suede, leather, and birch. So you have these darker ingredients in here. It's very gently spiced, but it still has that floral nuance. It still has the caramel in here, which adds that level of sweetness that I find so enjoyable. In any case, I'm excited to give you my thoughts on this fragrance, let you know how it evolves on my skin, how long it lasts, how much of a similarity I find there to be to the original Whispers of Truth. But let's go ahead and start things off with a close look at the gorgeous presentation. Now, the opening of this fragrance with that spice that's in here, very gently spiced, but you still have that sweetness that is coming from the caramel, not too salty or anything like that. The sweetness, the spice, that rosy nuance, everything comes together in this really exotic, flavorful, climactic way that I think is exactly what the brand was going for. So you take Whispers of Truth, which is a little bit on the sweet side, and it has the caramel and it has the florals interwoven in the blend. Now in this fragrance, we add the suede. We also have an extra leather accord, and we have the birch. So there's a little bit of smoke in here. And I think the smoke works in tandem with the spice to sort of create this element of darkness and tenebrosity to the fragrance that I'm really enjoying. But it doesn't take away from the sweetness. And I think that it's the florals and the caramel that are reminding me still of the original Whispers of Truth. Now, I don't own Whispers of Truth, but I have smelled it on a number of occasions, and I can say it's a little bit on the fresh side. It has the, the orangey nuance that's in there in the top, but it also has the sweetness in there, and it also has that sort of clean aspect on account of those floral ingredients that are used in there. Now, the cleanliness has been subdued a little bit. It still comes across smelling rather clean, but then you have that darkness in the base with that birch and the leather. So I know spices, certain spices like saffron, are often used in the synthesis of a leather accord. So perhaps there's a little bit of that going on in here, but the birch is what adds that smoke. Now, if you smell birch tar in its raw form, it smells like a burning forest, right? That's not what you're gonna get from this fragrance. You're going to get this gentle touch of smoke that makes it this sort of mysterious nighttime, you know, if you're enjoying yourself night out on the town, if you're spending time with your friends or significant other, and you really want to convey this aura of allure, intrigue, mystery, and enigma, while still having a bit of that sweetness in here with the caramel and those rosy nuances. By the way, the rose just comes across smelling very sensual, very flirtatious. Oh, this is an awesome fragrance. Very, very well done. Now, in terms of the similarity between this fragrance and the original Whispers of Truth, I would say it's about 70%. This is a true flanker, and that's what I love, right? Whenever you're expecting a flanker from any company, you want a fragrance that will remind you of the original, but makes it different enough to warrant a purchase. And that's exactly what I think is going on here. I have personally smelled many fragrances from other brands where I feel like the flanker could have been its own fragrance. And that's a good thing sometimes, because I am interested in a novel olfactory experience. I want to smell something I've never smelled before. But for a fragrance that is intended to be a flanker, you do want there to be a connection, however loose, to the original fragrance. And I feel like this fragrance really has it. So this is a great sort of night out, evening out, formal occasion, mysterious kind of a fragrance. If you are a fan of any of the notes that I spoke about, whether it be the spices, the leather, the birch, the rose, the caramel, I really do think that you owe it to yourself to, at the very least, try to get a sample of this fragrance. Once again, all of the information is going to be down below. This fragrance will become available on June 11th, depending on when I'm publishing this video, of course, June 11th, which is a Friday at midnight. Let's go ahead and finish things off with my overall assessment. So first up, in terms of the uniqueness and the overall smell, I do find this to be a unique fragrance, despite the fact that this is a flanker of Whispers of Truth, but this one really does things its own way. It really goes down its own path, and I'm very excited to see, or smell that, I should say. The overall smell is very pleasant. You know, a lot of times when people think of leather and birch, they think of fragrances that are really dark and potent and mysterious. This one is mysterious, but it's not too dark. You know, it still has the sensuality from the rose, still has the freshness of the orange, it still has the gentle spices in here, but also that sweetness, that saccharine quality from the caramel, which doesn't, in my opinion, ever veer in salty territory. A lot of fragrances that have caramel or toffee can kind of be a little bit salty, but that's not what's happening in here. I feel like there's more of an emphasis on that gentle smoke that's coming from the birch and the leather, of course. In terms of the longevity for this fragrance, 8+ hours on your skin. It's concentrated very strongly at 25% oil. The projection on this fragrance is amazing for the first 2 hours of application. It does radiate just a little bit beyond an arm's length. It doesn't actually start to sit much closer to the skin until about that 7 to 7.5 hour mark. So you are going to get 8 or 9 hours of consistent performance from this fragrance, which I think is amazing. In terms of the versatility, I think it's marketed for women, but I would personally love to wear this as a guy. I find rose as an ingredient to be very unisex. Caramel, I love all types of sweet fragrances. And then of course you think about the leather and the birch. I mean, these are shared ingredients in the perfume world, in my opinion and in my experience. I also find that this is a formal occasion type of a fragrance because it does have that refined formal quality about it. And then I also believe that this one is probably for someone who's a little bit older as opposed to somebody who's a little bit younger, like a high school student or an early college student. I feel like if you're really into fragrances and you have an appreciation for niche fragrances, you're gonna love this fragrance. And in terms of the presentation, one of the best that I've ever seen in my entire life. Just the attention to detail, the Swarovski crystals, over 200 of them on this 18-karat yellow gold-plated cap alone is just mind-blowing. My final verdict on this fragrance is if you are looking for a rose, caramel, spicy, birch, leather fragrance, something that smells absolutely amazing, dark, warm, spicy, enigmatic, mysterious, but sensual and alluring at the same time, You have to check this fragrance out. I know this is a fragrance that I'm going to really cherish in my collection. My wife smelled this yesterday, as a matter of fact, for the first time. I visited my mother's house. She lives just a few minutes away, and they smelled it, my wife and my mother, and they both fell in love with it. And so this is one that I have a very good feeling my wife is going to be wearing, and I'm going to be wearing this one too. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching. That was my fragrance review of Whispers of Truth Noir by House of Sillage. If you own or have tried this fragrance or the original Whispers of Truth or pretty much any fragrance from this company, and there are so many that I love, number 1, number 2, number 4, the contemporary, the classic, I just love this fragrance and so many, this fragrance brand, I should say, in so many of their offerings. If you have tried any of them, leave a comment down below. Also, if you are new to this channel and you took something of value from this video, I would really appreciate it if you would consider supporting this channel by subscribing to it. Also, while you're at it, make sure to leave a thumbs up down below for the YouTube algorithm. It would mean so much to me. Thanks again for watching. Love you all, and we'll see you next time. Bye.